The papers were sitting on my kitchen counter like they belonged there. Crisp, white, official. I dropped my suitcase right there in the doorway of my penthouse and walked toward them, my heels clicking on the marble floor. I had cut my business trip short because I missed home. I missed my space. The irony was not lost on me when I picked up the documents and read the header: Petition for Property Division and Anticipated Dissolution of Marriage. My hands did not shake. Not yet. That would come later. Right then, I just stood there reading words that made no sense. Cameron Phillips, my husband of 3 years, was claiming my penthouse as marital property. This penthouse. The one I bought 6 years ago with money from selling my first tech startup. The one I owned before I ever met him at that charity gala where he smiled at me like I was the only woman in the room. I flipped through the pages. His lawyer had been thorough. There were arguments about how the property had increased in value during the marriage, and how Cameron had contributed to its maintenance and improvement. I almost laughed. Cameron had contributed exactly nothing except his clothes in the closet and his terrible taste in artwork that I had politely declined to hang on my walls. But the worst part was not the legal papers. The worst part was what I found when I walked into our bedroom, looking for Cameron to ask him what kind of game he was playing. He was not there. His side of the bed was made. His phone was charging on the nightstand. His laptop was open on the desk. I should not have looked. But when your husband files papers to steal your home, you stop caring about privacy. I touched the trackpad and the screen lit up. He had not logged out of his messages. The chat thread at the top was with someone named S. Baby, just a few more weeks and the penthouse will be ours. My lawyer says Naomi won't have a choice. It'll be tied up in court for years and she'll give up. Then we can finally be together in the space we deserve. I scrolled up. Weeks of messages. Months. Photos of a woman with blonde hair and too much makeup, posing in lingerie. Photos of Cameron with her at restaurants I had never been to. Messages planning their future in my home. Messages mocking me. She has no idea, Cameron had written just 2 days ago. She actually thinks I love her. I sat down on the edge of the bed, still holding his laptop. My mind was racing but my body felt frozen. 3 years. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of cooking dinners and attending his business events and smiling for photos and believing that I had finally found someone who loved me for me, not for my money or my success. And all along he was planning this. All along there was Stephanie. Because that was her name. Stephanie Drake. I found her social media in his bookmarks. She was 29, worked as a lifestyle consultant, whatever that meant, and had posted a photo just yesterday with the caption, "Can't wait for my new chapter to begin." My new chapter. In my penthouse. I closed the laptop carefully. I stood up and walked to the window that overlooked Central Park. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I had bought this penthouse because of this view. I had stood in this exact spot 5 years ago and knew that this was where I belonged. I had worked 16-hour days building my company from nothing. I had sacrificed relationships and sleep and peace of mind to create something that was mine. And Cameron thought he could just take it. My phone buzzed. A text from Cameron. "Hey babe, stuck in meetings all day. Don't wait up. Love you." I stared at that message. Love you. 2 words that used to make me smile. Now they just made me angry. Not the hot, explosive kind of angry. The cold, calculating kind. The kind that makes you dangerous. I texted back, "No problem. See you tomorrow." Then I took photos of everything. The legal documents. Every message on his laptop. Every photo. I uploaded them to a secure cloud account. I sent them to my personal email. I made sure there were copies everywhere. Then I called my assistant. "Rebecca, I need you to get me the name of the best divorce attorney in New York City. Not the most famous. The best. The one who wins cases that seem impossible." Rebecca did not ask questions. She had worked for me for 6 years. She knew when I meant business. "I'll have 3 names for you in an hour," she said. I hung up and looked around my penthouse. Every piece of furniture I had chosen. Every painting on the walls. Every book on the shelves. This was mine. I had built this life myself. And I would be damned if I let Cameron Phillips take any of it. I sat down on my couch and waited for Rebecca to call back. Cameron had made a mistake. He thought I was soft. He thought because I loved him, I would be weak. He thought he could manipulate me the way he probably manipulated everyone else in his life. But Cameron did not know who he was dealing with. I had not built a successful tech company by being weak. I had not negotiated million-dollar deals by being naive. I had not survived in a male-dominated industry by being easy to push around. Cameron wanted to play games with my home? Fine. I would play. But I would play to win. And when I was done, Cameron Phillips would have nothing left. The sun finished setting. The sky turned dark. And I sat there in my penthouse planning my next move. The betrayal hurt. The lies hurt. But I would not let the hurt make me stupid. I would let it make me smart. My phone rang. Rebecca. I have the names, she said. Send them to me, I said. And Rebecca? Clear my schedule for the next week. I have some personal business to handle. I hung up and smiled. Not a happy smile. A smile that meant war. Cameron wanted my penthouse? He was about to find out that he had picked the wrong woman to mess with. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I worked. I had always been good at research, at digging through information to find patterns and connections. That skill had made me millions in tech. Now it was going to save my life. By 3 a.m, I had built a complete timeline of Cameron's betrayal. It was worse than I thought. So much worse. I started with his bank accounts. We had a joint account for household expenses, but Cameron also had his own accounts for his business. I had never looked at them before. Why would I? I trusted him. The word felt bitter now. Trust. What a stupid, naive concept. But I had access. I was his wife. I was listed as a beneficiary on most of his accounts for estate planning purposes. With a few clicks and some password recovery questions I knew the answers to, I was in. The pattern was clear. Starting 8 months ago, Cameron had been transferring money. Not huge amounts that would trigger alerts. Small amounts. 10,000 here. 15,000. There. Always to an account I did not recognize. Over 8 months, it added up to almost $400,000. I traced the receiving account. It belonged to a shell company called SD Ventures LLC. Registered in Delaware. Owner listed as S. Drake. Stephanie Drake. I leaned back in my chair. So Cameron was not just cheating. He was stealing. He was taking money from our joint assets and giving it to his mistress. Money that was partly mine. But that was not all. I kept digging. I found emails between Cameron and his financial advisor, discussing asset protection strategies in case of divorce. I found documents showing that Cameron had tried to take out a second mortgage on the penthouse without my knowledge. The application had been denied because the property was in my name alone, thank God. But the fact that he tried made my blood boil. I found text messages where he complained to Stephanie about how Naomi is so controlling about money. This from a man who had never paid for a single grocery bill in our entire marriage. I had never been controlling. I had just kept what was mine separate like any smart business person would. I found photos on his phone. Hundreds of them. Cameron and Stephanie at hotels. At beaches. At restaurants. Some were date stamped from our anniversary weekend last year, when he told me he had to go to a business conference. He had been with her instead. The sun came up while I was reading through emails. I watched the light creep across my living room and felt nothing. No tears. No sadness. Just a cold, hard determination. My phone buzzed with a text from Cameron. Morning beautiful. Miss you. When are you back from your trip? I looked at that message and felt disgust. He thought I was still on my business trip. He had no idea I was sitting in our bedroom, in our home, reading through every lie he had ever told me. I texted back, just landed. Be home tonight. That would give me the whole day to keep working. To keep building my case. Because that was what this was now. Case. Evidence collection. Strategy development. At 8 a.m, I called the first attorney on Rebecca's list. Patricia Holmes. Her assistant said she was booked solid, but I said it was urgent. Within an hour, Patricia herself called me back. Mrs. Phillips, she said. Her voice was sharp and professional. My assistant said you have an urgent legal matter. I need a divorce, I said. And I need to make sure my husband gets nothing. There was a pause. Then Patricia said, can you come to my office today? Say 11 o'clock. I'll be there, I said. I spent the next 2 hours getting ready. I dressed carefully. A black suit. Hair pulled back. Minimal makeup. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. 3 years ago I had been happy, successful, and loved. Now I just looked tired. But tired was fine. Tired meant I had been working. And working meant I was going to win. Patricia's office was in a glass tower in Midtown. Her receptionist showed me into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Patricia was exactly what I expected. 50-something. Gray hair cut in a sharp bob. A suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She looked like she ate opposing counsel for breakfast. Mrs. Phillips, she said, shaking my hand. Her grip was firm. Please sit. I sat. I pulled out my tablet and opened the folder where I had organized everything. I found out yesterday that my husband is trying to claim my penthouse as marital property, I said. I also found out he's having an affair and has been funneling money to his mistress. I slid the tablet across the desk. Patricia picked it up and started scrolling. Her expression did not change, but I saw her eyebrows raise slightly. You've been busy, she said. I built a tech company from nothing, I said. I know how to research. Patricia smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator recognizing another predator. I like you already, she said. Let me look through this more carefully, but from what I'm seeing, you have an excellent case. The penthouse is yours. Premarital property. He has no claim to it. He thinks he does, I said. His lawyer filed papers. His lawyer is an idiot, Patricia said bluntly. And your husband is worse. He's not just trying to take your property. He's committed fraud. He's stolen marital assets and given them to his mistress. He's tried to mortgage your property without your consent. Mrs. Phillips, this isn't just a divorce case. This is a criminal case. My heart started beating faster. Criminal? Financial fraud. Identity theft if he forged your signature anywhere. Possible embezzlement depending on how the joint accounts were structured. Patricia set down the tablet and looked at me directly. The question is, how far do you want to take this? I did not hesitate. As far as it goes. Patricia nodded. Then here's what we're going to do. We're going to file for divorce immediately. We're going to freeze all joint accounts. We're going to file a restraining order based on financial abuse. And we're going to report the fraud to the authorities. By the end of the week, your husband is going to wish he had never met you. For the first time since finding those papers on my counter, I felt something other than anger. I felt hope. When do we start? I asked. Patricia smiled again. We already have. I left Patricia's office with a plan. A real, concrete plan. For the first time in 24 hours, I felt like I could breathe. Patricia had told me the most important thing. Act normal. Don't let Cameron know that I knew. Not yet. Not until all the pieces were in place. The element of surprise is everything in cases like this, Patricia had said. If he knows you're on to him, he'll start hiding assets. He'll drain accounts. He'll make things harder. Right now, he thinks he's in control. Let him keep thinking that for a few more days. So I went home. I unpacked my suitcase properly. I changed into comfortable clothes. I made myself lunch. I answered emails. I acted like everything was normal because nothing was normal and I needed Cameron to believe otherwise. He came home at 7 that evening. I heard his key in the door and my whole body tensed. But I forced myself to smile when he walked into the kitchen where I was chopping vegetables for dinner. Hey babe, he said, walking over to kiss my cheek. His lips on my skin made my stomach turn, but I did not pull away. I just kept smiling. Hey, I said. How was work? Exhausting, he said, loosening his tie. Meetings all day. I'm starving. What are you making? Pasta, I said. Should be ready in 20 minutes. He poured himself a glass of wine and sat at the kitchen island, watching me cook. This had been our routine for 3 years. Him sitting there talking about his day while I cooked. I had liked it once. Thought it was domestic and sweet. Now I realized it was just another way he took from me. I cooked. I cleaned. I managed the household. He just showed up. How was the trip? He asked. Good, I said, keeping my voice light. Closed the deal with the Singapore investors. That's my girl, he said. You're amazing at what you do. I wanted to throw the knife at him. Instead, I just chopped the onions more aggressively. Thanks. We ate dinner together. We talked about nothing. He told me about a new restaurant he wanted to try next week. I agreed, knowing we would never go. He asked about my mom, if I had called her recently. I said I had. Every word felt like acting. Every smile felt like a mask. After dinner, Cameron said he had work to do and disappeared into his study. I cleaned up the kitchen, loaded the dishwasher, and then went to our bedroom. I closed the door and finally let myself feel the weight of it all. The lying. The pretending. The fact that I was sharing a home, a bed, with someone who was actively trying to destroy me. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Documents are ready. Need your signature tomorrow morning. Can you come at 9? I texted back, I'll be there. The next morning, I told Cameron I had an early meeting with investors. He barely looked up from his phone. Okay babe, see you tonight. I drove to Patricia's office in the cold November morning. The city was just waking up. I parked in the garage beneath her building and took the elevator up, my heart pounding the entire way. Patricia had everything ready. Divorce papers, financial motions, a request for a restraining order. Everything was organized in neat stacks on her conference table. "This is it," she said. "Once you sign these, there's no going back. Your husband will be served this afternoon. By tonight, your life will look very different." I picked up the pen. Good. I signed everything. Each signature felt like freedom. Each document was another step toward taking my life back. "What happens now?" I asked when I was done. "Now you go home and pack a bag," Patricia said. "I've arranged for you to stay at a hotel for a few days. Just as a precaution. Some men don't react well to being served." "Cameron won't hurt me," I said. Patricia gave me a look. "Mrs. Phillips. Naomi. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've heard that sentence 1,000 times. And sometimes it's true. But sometimes it's not. I'm not willing to take that risk with you. Pack a bag. Stay at the hotel. Let's get through the initial reaction safely." I nodded. She was right. I did not really know Cameron anymore. Maybe I never had. I went home. Cameron was already gone for the day. I packed quickly. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, important documents. I took one last look around my penthouse. This was still mine. No matter what happened, this was mine. Cameron would not take it. The hotel Patricia had arranged was nice. Not as nice as my penthouse, but comfortable. I checked in and sat on the bed, waiting. Patricia had said Cameron would be served around 3 in the afternoon. It was 11 now. 4 more hours. I tried to work. I opened my laptop and looked at emails, but I could not focus. I kept imagining Cameron's face when he got the papers. Would he be surprised? Angry? Would he realize I had known all along? At 3:30 my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Hello." "Naomi." Cameron's voice. He sounded furious. "What the hell is this?" I took a deep breath. "It's exactly what it looks like. I'm divorcing you." "You can't just," he started. "I can," I interrupted. "And I have. Don't contact me again. Talk to my lawyer." I hung up. My hands were shaking now, but it was not fear. It was adrenaline. I had done it. I had fired the first shot. My phone rang again immediately. "Cameron." I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. Again. Declined. After the 5th call, I blocked his number. A text came through from Patricia. "How are you doing?" "I'm okay," I texted back. He called 5 times. I blocked him. "Good. Stay at the hotel. Don't go home yet. I'll let you know when it's safe." I spent the rest of the day in that hotel room, alternating between feeling powerful and feeling scared. I had started something I could not stop. But I did not want to stop it. I wanted to see it through. I wanted to watch Cameron lose everything the way he had tried to make me lose everything. By nighttime, Patricia sent another text. "Joint accounts are frozen. His accounts are flagged for investigation. You're doing great. Get some rest." Rest. I almost laughed. I had not really slept in 3 days. But I tried. I lay in that hotel bed and closed my eyes and told myself that everything was going to be okay. I was fighting back. I was not going to be a victim. I was going to be a survivor. And survivors did not quit. I stayed at the hotel for 3 days. 3 days of living out of a suitcase, ordering room service, and checking my email every 5 minutes for updates from Patricia. But those 3 days were productive. While Cameron was panicking, I was planning. Patricia sent me daily updates. Cameron had tried to withdraw money from our joint accounts and found them frozen. He had called her office 14 times in 2 days. His lawyer had submitted a motion to dismiss, which Patricia said was amateur hour and would be denied. Cameron had posted on social media about going through a difficult time, fishing for sympathy. Nobody was biting. But the best news came on day 3. Patricia called me directly. "We need to talk," she said. "Can you come to the office?" I was there in 30 minutes. Patricia had another attorney with her this time. A man in his 40s with kind eyes and a serious expression. "This is Julian Reeves," Patricia said. "He specializes in financial crimes. I asked him to look at the evidence you collected." Julian shook my hand. "Mrs. Phillips, you've built an impressive case. What your husband did goes beyond simple infidelity. He committed wire fraud when he transferred marital assets to Stephanie Drake without your consent. He attempted mortgage fraud when he tried to refinance your property. And there are some irregularities in his business accounts that suggest he may have been doing this for longer than you realize." I sat down slowly. "What kind of irregularities?" Julian pulled out a folder. "Your husband's company, Phillips Capital Management, has been struggling for about 2 years. He's been using creative accounting to hide losses. Some of those losses were covered by money from your joint accounts. Money that was partly yours. How much? I asked. Approximately $800,000 over 2 years. The room felt too small suddenly. $800,000. Cameron had stolen $800,000 from me? Can we prove it? I asked. Yes, Julian said. And when we do, Cameron Phillips won't just lose the divorce. He'll face criminal charges. Patricia leaned forward. Naomi, this is where you need to make a decision. We can keep this civil. Divorce, asset division, alimony if applicable. Or we can go nuclear. Report the fraud to the authorities, cooperate with investigators, and make sure Cameron faces every consequence of his actions. Both are valid choices. But you need to decide which path you want to take. I thought about it. I thought about Cameron sitting at my kitchen island, drinking my wine, eating my food lying to my face. I thought about Stephanie looking at furniture for my penthouse, planning to live in my home. I thought about every time Cameron had called me babe, or beautiful, or amazing while secretly planning to rob me. Nuclear, I said. I want to go nuclear. Patricia smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Julian, she's all yours. Julian spent the next 2 hours walking me through what would happen. He would contact the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They would open an investigation. I would need to give a statement. They would subpoena Cameron's records. It would take time, but eventually Cameron would be charged. What about Stephanie? I asked. She received stolen money. Is she liable? Julian nodded. Potentially. If she knew the money was obtained fraudulently, she could face charges as an accessory. At minimum, she'll have to return the money. That made me smile. Stephanie was about to find out that Cameron's gifts had strings attached. I left Patricia's office feeling energized. I had spent 3 days in hiding, but I was done hiding. It was time to take back my life. I went back to my penthouse. Patricia had arranged for the locks to be changed and for building security to be notified that Cameron was not allowed access. When I walked through the door, it felt different. Lighter. Like a weight had been lifted. I spent the rest of the day cleaning. I threw away everything that reminded me of Cameron. His toothbrush. His clothes. The stupid decorative bowl he had insisted we needed for the coffee table. All of it went into trash bags. I called a charity to pick up his expensive suits. Let someone else benefit from his taste in designer clothes. My phone rang. It was Rebecca. Naomi, are you okay? I heard about the divorce. I'm fine, I said. Better than fine, actually. Good. Because I have news. The investors from Singapore called. They want to move forward with a new project. Bigger than the last one. They specifically asked for you. I felt a surge of pride. While my personal life was falling apart, my professional life was thriving. Because I was good at what I did. Because I had built something real that had nothing to do with Cameron. Set up the meeting, I said. I'm ready to work. Over the next few days, I fell into a new routine. I worked during the day building my business, taking meetings, making deals. In the evenings, I met with Patricia and Julian, building the case against Cameron. I documented everything. I provided bank statements and email records and text messages. I told them about every lie Cameron had told, every time he had manipulated me, every penny he had stolen. And slowly, piece by piece, we built an ironclad case. 2 weeks after I filed for divorce, Julian called with news. The FBI has opened a formal investigation, he said. They're moving fast. Cameron Phillips is about to have a very bad day. Good, I said. He deserves it. I hung up and looked around my penthouse. The sun was setting over Central Park. The sky was pink and gold and beautiful. This was mine. My home. My life. My success. Cameron had tried to take it. But he had failed. And now he was going to pay. The FBI moved faster than I expected. Within a week of opening their investigation, 2 agents showed up at Cameron's office. I was not there to see it, but I heard about it from everyone who was. Apparently, Cameron had been in the middle of a meeting with potential investors when the agents walked in and asked him to come with them for questioning. Patricia called me that afternoon. Cameron's been taken in for questioning, she said. His lawyer is with him, but this is bad for him. The FBI doesn't waste time on small cases. They have something solid. What happens now? I asked. Now we wait. They'll interview him. They'll go through his records. If they find what we think they'll find, they'll arrest him. How long? Could be days. Could be weeks. Federal investigations move on their own timeline. I tried to focus on work, but it was hard. Every day felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. I kept my phone close, waiting for updates. Meanwhile, my divorce case was moving forward. Patricia had filed motions for temporary support and for an accounting of all marital assets. Cameron's lawyer was fighting everything, but it was a losing battle. The evidence was overwhelming. 3 weeks after the FBI interview, I got the call I had been waiting for. Cameron Phillips has been arrested, Patricia said. Charges include wire fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. His bail hearing is tomorrow. I sat down slowly. It was real. It was actually happening. Cameron was going to face consequences. Do you want to be there? Patricia asked. At the bail hearing? Yes, I said immediately. I want to see his face. The bail hearing was at 9 in the morning in federal court in Manhattan. I dressed carefully. A navy suit. My hair down. Minimal jewelry. I wanted to look professional, not vengeful. Even though vengeance was exactly what this was. I sat in the back of the courtroom with Patricia beside me. Cameron was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked terrible. His hair was messy. He had dark circles under his eyes. He had lost weight. When he scanned the courtroom and saw me, his face went pale. Good, I thought. Let him see me. Let him know I'm the reason he's here. The prosecutor laid out the case. 8 counts of wire fraud. 3 counts of identity theft. 2 counts of embezzlement. The total amount stolen was over $1.2 million, not just from me but from his business partners and investors as well. Cameron had been running a scheme for years, using money from one source to pay back another like a house of cards waiting to collapse. Cameron's lawyer argued for bail. He had ties to the community. He was not a flight risk. He was a respected businessman. The prosecutor disagreed. Your Honor, Mr. Phillips has significant assets hidden in offshore accounts. He has a mistress with access to funds. He has every reason to flee. The government requests that bail be denied. The judge looked at Cameron for a long moment. Then she said, bail is set at $5 million. Next hearing is scheduled for 6 weeks from today. $5 million. Cameron's face went even paler. His lawyer whispered something to him. Cameron shook his head. He did not have $5 million in liquid cash. His accounts were frozen. His assets were tied up in the divorce. He was going to stay in jail. I stood up and walked out of the courtroom. I did not look back. I did not need to. I had seen what I came to see. Cameron Phillips was going down and I was the one who pushed him. Outside the courthouse, reporters had gathered. News of Cameron's arrest had spread fast. He was a well-known businessman, and his fall from grace was a juicy story. I put on sunglasses and walked quickly to my car, but one reporter caught up to me. Mrs. Phillips, do you have any comment on your husband's arrest? I stopped. I looked at the camera. I thought about saying something cutting or clever, but instead I just said, justice is being served. That's all that matters. Then I got in my car and drove away. That night I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Naomi. It was Stephanie. Her voice was shaky. We need to talk. No, I said. We don't. Please just listen. I didn't know he was stealing from you. I swear. He told me the money was his. He said you were keeping everything from him. I didn't know. I don't care what you knew, I interrupted. You slept with my husband. You planned to move into my home. You took money that wasn't yours. I don't care if you knew where it came from. You're just as guilty as he is. The FBI is asking me questions, Stephanie said. She was crying now. They're saying I might be charged. They're freezing my accounts. Naomi, please, I'm scared. Good, I said coldly. You should be scared. You should have thought about consequences before you decided to help destroy my life. I never wanted to hurt you, she sobbed. I just fell in love with him. I thought. You thought you'd get a penthouse and a rich husband, I said. Well, congratulations. You got a criminal and a federal investigation. I hope it was worth it. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From satisfaction. Stephanie was scared. Cameron was in jail. Everything was falling apart for them, just like they had tried to make everything fall apart for me. My phone rang again. This time it was Patricia. I heard Stephanie called you. How did you know? She called me too. She wants to make a deal. She's willing to testify against Cameron in exchange for immunity. What did you tell her? I told her to talk to the prosecutor. This isn't my jurisdiction. But Naomi, if she testifies, Cameron is done. There will be no way for him to fight the charges. I thought about it. Part of me wanted Stephanie to go down with Cameron. But the other part of me just wanted this over. I wanted Cameron in prison. I wanted my life back. Tell her to do what she needs to do, I said. I don't care about her. I just want Cameron to pay. He will, Patricia said. Trust me, he will. I hung up and poured myself a glass of wine. I walked to my balcony and looked out at the city. The lights twinkled below me. People were living their lives, completely unaware of the war I had been fighting. And winning. Cameron thought he could take my penthouse. He thought he could steal from me and cheat on me and get away with it. He thought I would be easy to manipulate, easy to break. He was wrong. And now he was learning exactly how wrong he had been. News of Cameron's arrest spread through our social circle like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. People I had considered friends started calling, not to support me but to get gossip. Did you really not know? They would ask. Were there signs? They acted concerned, but I could hear the judgment in their voices. Like somehow I should have known. Like I should have prevented this. I stopped answering most calls. The only people I talked to were my real friends. My college roommate, Tasha, who flew in from Chicago to stay with me for a weekend. My business partner, Greg, who sent me a text that just said, "You're a warrior. Never forget that." My mom, who said, "I never liked him anyway," which made me laugh for the first time in weeks. But not everyone was on my side. 3 of Cameron's friends, men I had hosted in my home for dinner parties, sent me angry emails accusing me of ruining his life and being vindictive. One even suggested I was making up the evidence. I forwarded those emails to Patricia without responding. Let them think what they wanted. The FBI had the evidence. That was what mattered. The divorce proceedings continued while Cameron sat in jail. His lawyer tried to argue that Cameron could not properly defend himself while incarcerated. Patricia shut that down immediately. Your client is incarcerated because of his own criminal actions, she told the judge. That doesn't pause his legal obligations in civil court. The judge agreed. The divorce moved forward. Patricia filed for an emergency accounting of all assets. We wanted a complete picture of what Cameron owned and what he owed. His lawyer fought it, but again the evidence was on our side. The court ordered a full financial disclosure. What we found was worse than I thought. Cameron's company was not just struggling. It was completely insolvent. He owed creditors over $3 million. His fancy office was leased, not owned. His cars were leased. Even his watch collection, which he had bragged about constantly, was mostly bought on credit. Cameron Phillips had been living a lie for years, projecting wealth he did not have, using other people's money to maintain an image. And he had planned to use my penthouse to bail himself out. He was going to divorce me, take half the value of the penthouse in the settlement, use that money to pay his debts and start over with Stephanie in the home I had built. I sat in Patricia's office reading through the financial reports, feeling sick. He was going to leave me with nothing, I said quietly. If I hadn't found those papers when I did, if I had waited even a few more weeks, he might have succeeded. Patricia nodded. Men like Cameron are very good at manipulation. They plan carefully. They choose their victims carefully. You were successful, independent, and trusting. That made you an ideal target. I can't believe I married him, I said. Don't blame yourself, Patricia said firmly. He lied to you. He manipulated you. None of this is your fault. The only person responsible for Cameron's actions is Cameron. I nodded, but it was hard not to feel stupid. I was a smart woman. I had built a successful business. How had I not seen this? A week later I got another call. This time from Julian. Stephanie Drake has officially flipped, he said. She's given a full statement to the FBI. She's handed over emails, text messages, bank records. Everything. She's cooperating completely. Why? I asked. What did they offer her? Immunity from prosecution on the condition that she returns all money received from Cameron and testifies at trial. She took the deal. I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was glad Cameron would face justice. But I was also disappointed that Stephanie was getting away with it. She had been part of this. She had helped him plan to steal my home. Is there anything I can do? I asked. To make sure she faces some consequences? You can file a civil suit against her, Julian said. Sue her for emotional distress, alienation of affection if your state allows it. But honestly, Naomi, she has no money. Cameron gave it all to her in cash and gifts, and she's spending it on legal fees now. You'd win, but you wouldn't collect. So she just gets away with it. She's not getting away with it, Julian said gently. Her name is all over this case. Every news article mentions her. Every report calls her Cameron's mistress. She's a 30-year-old woman with no real career skills, And now she's nationally known as the woman who helped a man defraud his wife. She's not getting away with anything. Her reputation is destroyed. That made me feel slightly better. Stephanie might avoid jail, but she would not avoid consequences. Meanwhile, Cameron's world continued to crumble. His business partners filed lawsuits. His creditors came calling. His office was shut down. His accounts were seized. The man who had been worth millions on paper was now worth less than nothing. He was in debt, in jail, and facing decades in prison. And through it all, I kept working. I closed the deal with the Singapore investors. I started planning a new venture. I went to the gym. I had lunch with friends. I lived my life. Because that was what Cameron had tried to take from me, my life. And I refused to let him win, even from a jail cell. One evening, about 6 weeks after Cameron's arrest, I was at home when my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera and saw a woman I did not recognize. Middle-aged, expensive coat, nervous expression. I opened the door. "Can I help you?" "Are you Naomi Phillips?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Catherine Phillips, Cameron's mother." I should have closed the door. I should have told her to leave. But curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want?" "Can I come in? Just for a few minutes? Please." Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat in my living room, an awkward silence between us. Cameron's mother looked around, taking in the penthouse, the view, the expensive furniture. "This is beautiful," she said quietly. "Thank you," I said. "What do you want, Mrs. Phillips?" She took a deep breath. "I want to ask you to drop the charges." I almost laughed. "I can't drop federal charges. That's not how it works." "But you started this," she said. "You reported him. If you tell them you were mistaken, that you want to reconcile." "I was not mistaken," I said coldly. "Your son stole from me. He cheated on me. He tried to take my home. He committed multiple federal crimes. I'm not dropping anything." "He made mistakes," she said. "But he's still my son. He doesn't deserve to go to prison." "He deserves exactly what he's getting," I said. "And if you came here to make me feel guilty, you can leave. I'm not the villain in this story. Cameron is." Catherine Phillips stood up, tears in her eyes. "He said you were cold. I didn't believe him. But I see it now." "I'm not cold," I said. "I'm just done being a victim. Your son tried to destroy my life. I'm making sure he can't do it to anyone else. If that makes me cold, so be it." She left without another word. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. Even Cameron's family was trying to manipulate me, trying to make me feel responsible for his consequences. But I would not feel guilty. Not anymore. Cameron made his choices. Now he had to live with them. The FBI investigation took 4 months. 4 months of interviews, document reviews, and forensic accounting. I was called in to give statements 3 times. Each time, I sat in a gray government building and answered questions about my marriage, about the money, about Cameron's business dealings. It was exhausting, but I did it. Because I wanted justice. Julian kept me updated throughout the process. "They're finding more than they expected," he told me during one meeting. "Cameron wasn't just stealing from you. He had been running a Ponzi-like scheme with his business. He was taking money from new investors to pay returns to old investors. The whole thing was collapsing." "How much money are we talking about?" I asked. "Over $5 million from various victims. You were just one of many. But you're the one who exposed it. If you hadn't reported him, this could have gone on for years. More people could have been hurt." That made me feel slightly better about everything. I had not just saved myself. I had saved others from being Cameron's victims. During those 4 months, my life started to feel normal again. I stopped looking over my shoulder. I stopped checking my bank accounts every day to make sure nothing was missing. I started to trust again. Not in relationships, not yet. But in myself. In my judgment. In my ability to survive. I threw myself into work. My new project with the Singapore investors was thriving. We were developing a new software platform for small businesses, something I had been passionate about for years. The work was challenging and exciting. It reminded me why I loved what I did. I also started going to therapy. Patricia had recommended it, and at first I had resisted. I did not want to be the kind of person who needed therapy. But my therapist, Dr. Monroe, helped me understand that needing help was not weakness. It was strength. "You've been through a trauma," Dr. Monroe said during our second session. "Your husband betrayed you in the worst possible way. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to need time to heal." "I don't feel hurt," I said. "I just feel angry." Anger is often easier than pain, she said gently. But underneath that anger there's hurt. And you need to deal with both. It took weeks, but slowly I started to let myself feel the pain. I cried in Dr. Monroe's office. I talked about how much I had loved Cameron, how betrayed I felt, how stupid I felt for not seeing the signs. And each session I felt a little bit lighter. Like I was letting go of weight I did not know I was carrying. Meanwhile, Cameron sat in jail. He could not make bail, so he stayed incarcerated while waiting for trial. I heard through Patricia that he was having a hard time. Jail was not easy for men like Cameron, men who were used to luxury and comfort. He was losing more weight. He was fighting with his cellmate. His lawyer was barely speaking to him because Cameron could not pay his fees. Part of me felt bad for him. A small part. The part that remembered the man I thought I had married, the man who brought me coffee in bed and laughed at my jokes and held my hand during movies. But that man had never existed. He had been a mask Cameron wore to manipulate me. The real Cameron was the one sitting in jail, facing the consequences of his crimes. 6 months after Cameron's arrest, the trial date was set. United States versus Cameron Phillips. The trial would start in 8 weeks. Julian called to tell me I would need to testify. What do I need to do? I asked. Just tell the truth, Julian said. Tell the jury what happened. How you discovered the papers. How you found evidence of the affair and the theft. They need to hear from you that Cameron knew exactly what he was doing. Will Cameron be there? In the courtroom? Yes. He has the right to be present for his trial. I had not seen Cameron since the bail hearing, and I was not looking forward to being in the same room with him again. But I would do it. For justice. For closure. As the trial date approached, Patricia finalized the divorce. Without Cameron's cooperation, everything moved slowly. But eventually the judge ruled in my favor on every count. The penthouse was mine. All my personal assets were mine. Cameron was ordered to pay restitution for the money he stole, though Patricia said we would probably never collect since he was broke and going to prison. The important thing is the principle, Patricia said. The court has recognized that Cameron wronged you. That's what matters. On the day of the divorce decree, I went to court alone. Cameron was not there, he was still in jail. His lawyer appeared on his behalf, looking defeated. The judge read the decree aloud. After 3 years of marriage, Naomi Carter and Cameron Phillips were officially divorced. I signed the papers. I walked out of the courthouse. And for the first time in months I felt free. That evening, I stood on my balcony with a glass of champagne. Tasha had come over to celebrate with me. We toasted to new beginnings. You did it, Tasha said. You got out. You saved yourself. I did, I said. But it's not over yet. The trial is still coming. Are you scared? I thought about it. No. I'm ready. I want to look Cameron in the eye and tell the truth about what he did. I want him to hear it from me. Tasha smiled. That's my girl. Still fighting. Always, I said. 2 weeks before the trial, I got an unexpected call from Stephanie. I had blocked her number months ago, but she called from a different phone. Naomi, please don't hang up, she said quickly. What do you want, Stephanie? I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. I was stupid. I believed Cameron's lies. I thought you were the bad guy. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry. I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, you were an adult making adult choices. You chose to sleep with a married man. You chose to take money you didn't earn. You chose to help plan to steal my home. I don't care if you're sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. I know, she said quietly. I just wanted you to know. I'm testifying against him. I'm going to tell the truth about everything. Good, I said. At least you're doing one right thing. I hung up. I did not feel better. I did not feel worse. I just felt nothing toward Stephanie. She was not worth my energy anymore. The trial was about to begin. And I was ready. The trial started on a Monday morning in early spring. The courthouse was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and Cameron's former business associates who wanted to see him fall. I sat in the second row with Patricia beside me. Julian sat at the prosecutor's table. And Cameron sat at the defense table in a suit that hung loosely on his frame. He had lost so much weight in jail that he looked like a different person. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. They showed the jury bank records proving Cameron had transferred money without authorization. They showed emails where Cameron discussed hiding assets from me. They showed text messages between Cameron and Stephanie where they planned to force me out of my own home. I watched the jury's faces as they saw the evidence. Some looked disgusted. Some looked angry. Some just looked sad. but none looked sympathetic to Cameron. On the third day, Stephanie took the stand. She looked nervous, her hands shaking as she was sworn in. The prosecutor asked her to describe her relationship with Cameron. "We were in a relationship for 14 months, she said quietly. Cameron told me his marriage was over. He said Naomi was controlling and that he wanted to leave her. He said he just needed time to plan." "Did Mr. Phillips give you money?" "Yes. He gave me $400,000 over the course of our relationship. He said it was his money from his business. I didn't know it came from his wife." "Did you know Mr. Phillips was planning to claim his wife's penthouse as marital property?" Stephanie nodded. "Yes. He said we would live there together once the divorce was final. We even looked at furniture to replace Naomi's things." "Did you have any concern that this property belonged to Mrs. Phillips?" Cameron said it was marital property. He said Naomi was being unreasonable about sharing it. I believed him. The defense attorney cross-examined her, trying to make her look like a gold digger, but Stephanie held her ground. She admitted she had been wrong. She admitted she had made bad choices. But she also made it clear that Cameron had lied to her just like he had lied to me. On the 5th day I was called to testify. I walked to the stand with my head high. I was sworn in and took my seat. The prosecutor stood and smiled at me gently. "Mrs. Carter," he said, using my maiden name which I had legally reclaimed, "can you tell the jury about the day you discovered your husband's plans?" I took a deep breath and told them everything. Finding the papers, reading the messages, discovering the affair, learning about the money transfers. I spoke clearly and calmly, never raising my voice, never crying. I just told the truth. "Did you ever give your husband permission to transfer money from your joint accounts?" the prosecutor asked. "No. Never." "Did you ever give your husband permission to attempt to refinance your penthouse?" "No. I didn't even know he tried until my lawyer discovered it." "In your marriage, did Mr. Phillips ever contribute financially to the household?" "No. I paid for everything. The household expenses came from my accounts. I bought the groceries, paid the utilities, paid for our vacations. Cameron said he was reinvesting his money in his business, so I covered everything else." The prosecutor nodded. "So to be clear, you were the financial provider in this marriage, and yet Mr. Phillips believed he was entitled to your property?" "Yes." The defense attorney cross-examined me, trying to suggest I had been vindictive, that I had reported Cameron out of spite rather than justice. But I would not take the bait. "I reported my husband because he committed crimes," I said firmly. "He stole from me. He attempted to steal my property. That's not spite. That's the law." After 2 weeks of testimony, the trial went to the jury. They deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous on all counts. Guilty. 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 Cameron's face was blank as the verdict was read. He did not cry. He did not react. He just sat there staring straight ahead. Sentencing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Patricia told me I could make a victim impact statement if I wanted. I said yes. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom was packed again. Cameron's mother was there, crying quietly in the back row. Several of his victims were there to give their own statements. And I was there ready to speak. The judge called me forward. I stood at the podium and looked directly at Cameron. He met my eyes for the first time since the trial began. "Cameron Phillips was my husband," I said. "I loved him. I trusted him. I built a life with him. And he repaid that love and trust by lying to me, stealing from me, and planning to take everything I had worked for. He didn't just hurt me financially. He hurt me emotionally. He made me doubt myself, my judgment, my worth. But I'm not standing here as a victim. I'm standing here as a survivor. Cameron tried to destroy me and he failed. I'm still here. I'm still successful. I still have my home, my business, my life. Cameron took nothing from me except time. And now he's going to lose his time. I hope he uses his years in prison to think about the lives he destroyed and the people he hurt. And I hope he realizes that crime doesn't pay. Thank you." I walked back to my seat. Patricia squeezed my hand. "Well said," she whispered. The judge sentenced Cameron to 15 years in federal prison. He would serve at least 12 years before being eligible for parole. Additionally, he was ordered to pay restitution to all his victims, totaling over $6 million. Cameron was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. He looked back once, his eyes finding mine. I did not look away. I stared right back at him, letting him see that I was not broken. I had won. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me. I made a brief statement. "Justice has been served today. My ex-husband will face the consequences of his crimes. I'm grateful to the FBI, the prosecutors, and everyone who helped bring the truth to light. Now I'm looking forward to moving on with my life." That was all I said. I did not answer questions. I did not elaborate. I just got in my car and drove home. That night I sat in my penthouse and cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. It was over. Really, truly over. Cameron was going to prison. I was free. I had won. The months after Cameron's sentencing were strange. I had spent almost a year focused on the divorce, the investigation, and the trial. Now, suddenly, it was all over. I had nothing to fight. No battles to plan. Just life to live. At first, I did not know what to do with that. I threw myself into work even harder than before. My new software platform launched and was immediately successful. We signed contracts with companies across the country. My team grew from 5 people to 20. My bank account, which had taken a hit from legal fees, started recovering quickly. But work was not enough. I had spent 3 years of my life with Cameron, and another year fighting him. I had forgotten how to just be. How to exist without constantly looking over my shoulder or planning my next move. Dr. Monroe helped me work through it. "You've been in survival mode," she said. "That's normal after trauma. But now you need to learn how to thrive, not just survive." "How do I do that?" I asked. "You start by doing things that make you happy. Not things that make you successful or productive. Things that bring you joy." So I started trying. I took a painting class and discovered I was terrible at art, but I enjoyed it anyway. I joined a book club and made new friends who knew nothing about my past. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see. I went to Paris for a week and ate croissants and walked along the Seine and felt, for the first time in a long time, at peace. I also started dating again. Not seriously. Just casual dinners and coffee dates. Most of them went nowhere, and that was fine. I was not looking for love. I was just relearning how to trust people. How to let someone in without wondering if they were secretly planning to betray me. One evening, 6 months after Cameron's sentencing, I ran into Julian at a charity event. He was there representing his firm and I was there as a donor. We had not spoken since the trial ended, though he had sent me a brief congratulations email when my software platform launched. "Naomi," he said, smiling. "It's good to see you. How are you doing?" "I'm good," I said. And I meant it. Really good, actually. "How about you?" "Busy. But that's not unusual." He paused. "Your platform is doing well. I've been reading about it." "You have?" "Of course. I like to keep up with former clients. Make sure they're thriving." We talked for a while about work, about the city, about nothing important. And then, as the event was winding down, Julian said, "Would you like to have coffee sometime? Just as friends. I promise I'm not secretly planning to steal your penthouse." I laughed. It felt good to laugh about it. "Sure. Coffee sounds nice." We exchanged numbers and went our separate ways. A few days later, Julian texted asking if I was free that weekend. We met at a small coffee shop in the West Village on a Saturday morning. He was dressed casually in jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than I had ever seen him during the trial. We talked for 2 hours. About his work. About my work. About our families. About books and movies and travel. It was easy. Comfortable. No pressure. Just 2 people getting to know each other. "Can I be honest?" Julian said as we were finishing our coffee. "I've been wanting to ask you out for months. But I wasn't sure if it was appropriate. You were my client and you had just been through something terrible. I didn't want to take advantage." "You're asking me out now?" I said, smiling. "If you're interested. If not, we can just be friends." "I mean that. I like talking to you, Naomi. You're smart and strong and funny. But I understand if dating is the last thing you want." I thought about it. Dating had been Cameron's lawyer, the man who helped me get justice. That felt complicated. But it also felt right. Julian had seen me at my worst, during the darkest time of my life, and he had helped me through it. He knew everything about my past and he was still here asking for a chance. "I'm interested," I said. "But slow. I need to go slow." "Slow is good," Julian said. "I can do slow." We started seeing each other regularly. Coffee dates turned into dinner dates. Dinner dates turned into walks in the park and museum visits and lazy Sunday mornings. Julian was patient. He never pushed. He let me set the pace. And slowly I started to trust him. Started to believe that not every man was like Cameron. That it was possible to find someone genuine. Meanwhile, my life continued to improve. My business grew. I bought a vacation home in the Hamptons. I reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with during my marriage. I started volunteering at a nonprofit that helped women escaping abusive relationships. I wanted to use my experience to help others, to show them that they could survive and thrive. One evening, almost a year after Cameron's sentencing, I was at home when I got an email from Patricia. Thought you'd want to know. Cameron's appeal was denied. His conviction stands. He'll serve his full sentence. I read that email and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Nothing. Cameron was no longer part of my life. He was just a bad memory fading with time. I called Julian. Want to come over? I have news I want to share. He arrived 30 minutes later with a bottle of wine. I told him about the email. It's really over, I said. Cameron's appeal was denied. He's going to serve his full sentence. Julian wrapped his arms around me. How do you feel? Free, I said. I feel free. We sat on my balcony looking out at the city talking about the future. Julian was thinking about starting his own practice. I was thinking about expanding my business internationally. We talked about our dreams, our goals, our hopes. And for the first time in years, I felt excited about what was coming next. Not scared. Not worried. Just excited. Thank you, I said to Julian. For what? For being patient with me. For understanding. For seeing me as more than just a client or a victim. You were never a victim, Julian said gently. Even during the trial, even when you were telling your story, you were never a victim. You were a fighter. That's what I saw. That's what I see now. I kissed him. Not because I had to. Not because I was trying to forget Cameron. But because I wanted to. Because Julian made me happy. Because I was ready to open my heart again. 2 years after I found those papers on my kitchen counter, I stood in my penthouse getting ready for a party. Not a party to celebrate a business deal or a legal victory. Just a party because it was Saturday night and I wanted to gather the people I loved in the space I loved. My penthouse looked different now. I had renovated after the divorce, changing everything that reminded me of Cameron. New furniture. New paint. New art on the walls. The only thing that stayed the same was the view. The view that had made me fall in love with this place to begin with. Tasha arrived first, bringing her new girlfriend and a bottle of expensive champagne. To new beginnings, she said, hugging me. To new beginnings, I agreed. Rebecca came with her husband and their baby. Greg came with his boyfriend. Dr. Monroe even came, smiling as she told me how proud she was of my progress. And Julian came, of course, bringing flowers and that easy smile that still made my heart skip a beat. We had been dating for over a year now, slowly like I had asked for. But over the past few months, it had stopped feeling slow. It started feeling right. Julian spent most nights at my place. He had a drawer in my dresser. His toothbrush sat next to mine in the bathroom. We talked about the future in concrete terms now. Not if but when. Speech. Tasha called out halfway through the party. Naomi, give us a speech. I laughed and held up my glass. Everyone gathered around, quieting down. Okay, I said. I'll keep this short. 2 years ago my life fell apart. Or at least that's what it felt like at the time. My husband betrayed me. He tried to take everything I had worked for. And for a while I was angry. I was hurt. I was scared. But then I realized something. He didn't take anything from me. He tried but he failed. Because the things that matter most, the things that make me who I am, those can't be stolen. My intelligence, my strength, my ability to build and create and survive. Those are mine. Always have been. Always will be. I looked around at the faces of the people I loved. So this party isn't about celebrating Cameron going to prison, though I won't lie, that didn't hurt. This party is about celebrating me. About celebrating the fact that I survived. That I thrived. That I took back my life and made it even better than it was before. Thank you all for being part of that journey. I love you all. Everyone cheered. Tasha wiped away tears. Julian kissed my cheek and whispered, I'm so proud of you. Later that night, after everyone had left, Julian and I stood on the balcony. The city lights twinkled below us. It was late spring and the air was warm and perfect. I have something to tell you, Julian said. I turned to him. What? I signed the lease on my new office today. I'm officially starting my own practice. Julian, that's amazing. I hugged him. I'm so happy for you. I couldn't have done it without you, he said. Watching you build your business, watching you fight for what's yours, it inspired me to take the risk. You're going to be incredible, I said. I hope so. He took a deep breath. There's something else. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. My heart started racing. Naomi, I know we said slow. And I know you've been through hell. But I love you. I love your strength and your intelligence and your kindness. I love the way you fight for what's right. I love the way you never give up. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you if you'll let me. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. Will you marry me? I looked at him, this man who had seen me at my lowest and helped lift me up. This man who was patient and kind and real. This man who loved me for exactly who I was. Yes, I said. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me. And standing there on my balcony, in the penthouse I had fought so hard to keep, with the man I loved beside me, I felt complete. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through my windows. Julian was still asleep beside me. I looked at the ring on my finger and smiled. Then I got up, made coffee, and walked to my balcony. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Cameron Phillips transferred to maximum security facility after altercation with another inmate. I deleted the notification without reading more. Cameron was no longer my concern. He was no longer part of my story. I was building a new story now. One where I was the hero, not the victim. One where I got everything I wanted, not because I took it from someone else, but because I earned it. Because I fought for it. Because I refused to let anyone take it from me. My penthouse. My business. My freedom. My happiness. My future with Julian. All mine. Everything I wanted and more. Cameron had tried to take my penthouse. Instead, I took everything. His freedom. His reputation. His future. But more than that, I took back my power. I took back my life. I took back myself. And that, I realized as I stood there watching the sun rise over the city, was the greatest victory of all. I heard Julian stirring inside. He came out to the balcony, wrapped his arms around me from behind, and kissed my neck. "Good morning, future Mrs. Reeves," he said. "Good morning," I said, leaning back against him. "Though I think I'll keep Carter professionally." "Whatever makes you happy," he said. I looked out at the city below. The same view I had fallen in love with years ago. But everything else had changed. I had changed. I was stronger now, smarter, more careful, but also more open, more ready to love again, more ready to trust again. Because that was the thing about surviving. It did not just mean staying alive. It meant learning to live fully again, learning to take risks again, learning to open your heart again. Cameron had tried to teach me that people could not be trusted. That love was a weakness. That kindness was something to exploit. But he was wrong. The people in my life, the real people, had shown me the opposite. Tasha flying across the country to support me. Patricia fighting for me. Julian loving me through my worst. They showed me that trust was possible. That love was strength. That kindness was something to cherish. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked. "How lucky I am," I said. "How far I've come." "You did that," he said. "You fought. You survived. You won." "We won," I corrected. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Well, you had already won by the time I asked you to coffee," he said, smiling. "But I'm glad you let me be part of your victory lap." I laughed and turned in his arms to face him. "This isn't a victory lap. This is just the beginning." "The beginning of what?" "The beginning of everything," I said. "Everything I was meant to have. Everything I deserve. Everything I'm going to build." Julian kissed me. "Then let's build it together." "Together?" I agreed. We went inside to start our day. I had meetings scheduled, deals to close, a business to run, a life to live. And for the first time in years, I was not running from something. I was running toward something. Toward a future I was creating on my own terms. My billionaire husband had tried to take my luxury penthouse. Instead, I took everything. His freedom, his assets, his reputation. And most importantly, I took back my own power. I was Naomi Carter, tech entrepreneur, business owner, survivor, fighter, winner. And no one would ever take anything from me again.